Well, hello and welcome to Art Together. I'm Raina Edgar. I'm the Director of Education and Programs at the Arkansas Art Center. And I'm joined today by Sharon Kemp, who is one of our docents. He's going to lead you on a really special tour today through a virtual look at our Young Arkansas Artist Exhibition, which is a program that we do every year at the Art Center. And why this program is so important and so special is that it features the talented artists of this state that are in kindergarten through 12th grade. And today we are going to look specifically at the artwork that was submitted for this year's exhibition that has a focus on animals, which I think will be a lot of fun for you to look at what the kids around this state have created and to also see how talented they are. So let's get started. The first one we are going to look at, we're going to start with kindergarten.
And what I think is really wonderful about this, Raina, this is the 59th year that the Arkansas Art Center has done this exhibition for young Arkansas artists. I ran into a woman who said she was in one of the first couple of exhibitions way back when, and her hair was as gray as mine. So, young Arkansas artists, yes. This is called Picasso's Bird. And I didn't realize they were teaching cubism, which he misspelled, at the bottom of his picture. But there is just something so wonderfully alive about this bird. Haven't we all wanted to imagine a bird of so many different colors and so many different shapes? And I was looking at this as someone walked by my computer the other day and said, with all those colors, I wonder what he sounds like. What would you think a bird that looks like this would sound like? Does it look like a bird to you? I think he has interesting feet. I think that's one thing that we can talk about Picasso's bird. Each little area is a different shape and a different color, and how all of those shapes and all of those colors make up a bird. I've never seen a square-eyed bird before, but I think it's quite wonderful, and all the triangles it takes to make up a bird's tail. Do you see the bird? Think about it. What do you see when you look at this picture and realize this was done by a kindergartner? So this is a 5-year-old, that this is how this 5-year-old sees the bird. We have another kindergarten picture, which is also another bird. I can't believe this is done by a 5-year-old. Mr. Ostrich, from a 5-year-old at Miss Selma's school. It reminds me of a black and white big bird. When you look at this bird and you look at its eyes, what do you see? The beak is just a V. The eyes are just circles with circles inside. And yet the wonderful shading of all the feathers around the head and all the feathers down the neck. It's a fascinating bird, where we saw a bird with all the shapes and the colors. This time, we're looking at a bird in black and white. And I think that's what's really fascinating about this bird. A bird in black and white. And yet it still looks like Big Bird to me, but it's not yellow. And in the trees in the back, and a bush in the back, and the ground is yellow and green and a blue, blue sky. I think this is a happy bird. Do you see a happy bird? I had to stop and think, what does an ostrich look like? Are ostriches black and white and gray? What do you see? We have another kindergartner that did a bird. Bird on a nest. This kindergartner is from Indian Hills School. And it looks like they cut out pieces in the paper and then they glued them on to another paper that they'd drawn a nest. And the nest is so full of color. And the bird is color. And he has polka dot wings and tail. Would you ever imagine a bird with polka dot wings and tail? And 2 eggs. So we'll have 2 more birds that are red with polka dot wings and tail. And you wonder, how did that bird build the nest with all those colors? What do you see? I'd love to see this bird in my backyard at the bird feeder. Red bird, yellow beak, with polka dot wings and tail. We're going to leave birds now and go on to another animal, a polar bear. This is the fanciest polar bear I think I've ever seen. I don't have eyelashes like that, but I think she's a very happy polar bear. The blue sky behind, white bear, and I wonder what the dots mean. What do you all think the dots mean around her snout, on her arms? But you can tell she's a bear. Look at the claws on that bear. I don't think I'd want to get in a fight with that polar bear. But another time, I'm wondering, I can't tell if it's painted on this paper or if possibly the bear was cut out and done and then glued on to the paper where they've obviously used watercolor to make the blue sky. But I think she's a very fancy bear. What do you think? Why do you think she has dots on her face? But I do love her eyelashes. I think next we'll go back and look at more birds. The next one, and we're going on to a first grader. This picture is called Birds on a Wire. And I'm trying to imagine the techniques that are used here. We obviously have painting, and then somebody's put a string across the painting, and then somebody's cut out paper of different shapes to make all the birds on the wire. How many birds do you see? Why do you think they're all sitting on the wire like that? And why is the ground underneath them red and purple and orange? I think the green is trees. I don't know. I think it's a lovely picture. What story comes to mind when you see all of these birds on this wire with these colors? And a 6-year-old did this, a first grader from Miss Selma's school. Birds on a wire. We're going to leave birds and go to dogs. Tired pups from chasing squirrels. This is also done by a 6th grader from Wakefield Elementary. These are very happy dogs. They have a ball and a bone and lots of squirrels running across the fence behind them. These dogs are smiling. Why do you think these dogs are smiling? I'm not sure quite what kind of dogs they are, except I think the one in front might be a Dalmatian because it has all the spots. But they're all smiling and happy and tired from chasing all those squirrels in the back. And you wonder what the squirrels think of them, because they don't seem afraid of the dogs. They're just sitting up there on the fence. And the sun is shining and the trees are out and the grass is green and the dogs are smiling. But they don't all look asleep. I got one eye open, some of them. Are they watching the squirrels? What do you think? Made me think of my backyard. I have lots of squirrels in my backyard. The neighbor's dog does bark at them. I don't have a dog. But these dogs look like they've had a wonderful day chasing squirrels. Chasing squirrels. Let's go to another insect. Bees. Honeybees. Buzzy bees, this is called, by a 2nd grader. Reminded me of Winnie the Pooh. What kind of story with the beehive hanging off the branch and all the bees coming back to the hive? All the bees look different, but you still know they're bees. And that's an awfully nice hive with a nice big door. Where do you think the bees have been? What do you think the buzzy bees have been doing? Are they going home, or are they leaving their hive to go do what they want to do? In a beehive, in a beautiful tree, with leaves hanging down and buzzy bees. How many bees do you see? You notice that a couple of the bees are black and have yellow stripes, and some of the bees are yellow with black stripes. Why do you think that is? I wonder how close this artist was ever able to get to some buzzy bees to imagine this picture. Buzzy bees. Now, I have to admit, this next picture is my favorite picture of the show. Tiger tails. Boy, there's a story here. The tiger hiding in the bushes, behind the leaves, behind the flowers. I don't think I've ever seen a tiger with green eyes and a purple nose, but he seems to be a happy tiger. What do you think this tiger's thinking about? His tongue is hanging out. His eyes are big, staring at something. And it's obvious they've taken other pictures and cut them up and put them on top and glued them all together. Because we can see the tiger's face, and you sort of see the tiger's ears, and sort of see the tiger's tail, and then you see the tiger's paw, and then you see the tiger's claws. What do you think the tiger is thinking? I kept wondering, looking at that tongue hanging out, is this tiger hungry? I don't know if I'd want to be around a hungry tiger. But I have to admit, this was my favorite picture in the show. I want to meet this tiger. And I'd love to meet the second grader that imagined this tiger. Never met a tiger with green eyes. But I just love that we see a big share of his face, but the other parts of the tiger are behind the leaves, behind the flowers, and yet we know all of the tiger is there. What do you think he's waiting for? Now we're going to take in more animals. And this one, I think I've identified what some of the animals are. The cat in the upper left, a leopard with spots. An elephant down in the right-hand corner, elephant. I'm not sure what the animal is above that element. Is that a rhinoceros? Maybe a unicorn with spots? I'm not sure. But of course, the big yellow animal, it's got to be a lion. You notice the lion's big mouth is open, and he has very sharp teeth. I don't think I'd want to be around this lion much either. Not with those teeth. But obviously, whoever did this one was thinking a lot about it, because they had to cut out the pieces, cut out the pieces of the land and the trees and the mountains and the sky, and then glue them all together. There's a story here. All the animals seem to be doing well. They're just not sort of doing it together. And I'm not sure if it's a rhinoceros or a unicorn. What do you think? I've never seen a spotted rhinoceros before, but it sure is pretty. What do you think? And with the teeth on that lion, I don't think I want to meet that lion. But the leopard with the spots is smiling and happy, and I don't think I'd mind meeting that cat up on that mountain in the snow. And as warm as it's been, I don't think I'd mind the snow. What do you think? Now we're going to see a tall animal. April the giraffe. April is quite a pretty giraffe, a very fashionable giraffe. Look at all the different elements that are glued onto this picture. April has a necklace with dangly beads. April has ribbons on her tail and feathers. She has feathers on her head. And what looks like cardboard for her head. And seeds glued on, and buttons glued on. And the newspaper behind her. What do you see? And she has button eyes and a button nose. Made me think of my Raggedy Ann doll with her button eyes and her button nose. But the seeds. I like this giraffe. Very fashionable. What do you think she's all dressed up for? Once again, all the materials are glued onto something else, glued onto something else. But we know it's a giraffe. And now we know her name is April. It's a girl giraffe. A very pretty girl giraffe. Where do you think she's going? I think she's going to have a really good time once she gets there. She's all dressed up and ready to go. She even has earrings that match her necklace. Can you see the earrings hanging off her ears? They're dangly. And flowers on the top of her, feathers on the top of her head. April's going to have a good time wherever she goes. Another four-footed animal coming up. When I saw this, all I could think of is, what is he looking at? He's not looking at us. He's looking off to the side. A reddish-brown fox standing in a green field. There's mountains and rocks behind him. Now, is that dark spot down there on the left, is that the door into where he lives? And a beautiful sunset. Orange. Are those butterflies up in the sky or birds? And then the pink tree off to the side is the same pink as the inside of his ears. But who is he seeing off to the side? Done by a fourth grader who's homeschooled. And a beautiful fox tail. What do you think he's looking at? What do you think he sees? What do you think made him turn to the side like that and stare off into the distance? Have you ever seen a sky that orange? We can move on to another animal by a fifth grader. It's called Sweet Soul. What kind of animal is it? Is it a cat? Or a fox? Or a red panda, maybe? Or a raccoon? Why does it have the wonderfully striped tail and a pink body with blue legs? He's looking at us. What do you think he's trying to tell us? He's not smiling, but he's not frowning. What do you see when you look at him? Or her. Could be a girl. We don't know. Him or her. But I love all the colors that they've used in the body. All the colors in the head and the tail. I know I've never really seen an animal that color, but I know it's an animal. I'm just not sure what kind. But it is very sweet. Maybe that's why the name Sweet Soul. And how did they paint it? Did you ever have a cat? I've always had cats. Growing up, we always had dogs. But never one that looked quite like that. What do you see when you look at this animal? We're going to go back to birds for a minute. This bird is named Richard. Done by a fifth grader at Anthony School. Is he an ostrich? He's staring right at us. And we're staring right back. Do you think he's trying to tell us something? Those big black eyes and his big beak. It's pink and has yellow line on it, and his nose black, and the black under his beak. And he takes up the whole space. Richard's important. He takes up the whole space. What do you think Richard's trying to tell us? I think there's a story here. What do you think Richard's trying to tell us? One more. Pond study number 1. This is from a 10th grader. Koi fish in a pond. how the water was painted. We know those fish are moving. We know the water is moving. And one of those fish is staring at us. Did he think we brought them something to eat? And the lily pads and the other greenery. Is the water off to the left deeper? Is that why it's black and not blue? But we can see the water swirling around these three fish. Pretty coy. I'm sure the raccoons in my neighborhood would eat them, but that's another story. What do you think these fish are doing? Did you have pets growing up? Did you have dogs that chased squirrels, or cats that peeked out from the leaves, or fish in a pond that would come to the side every time you came up thinking you were going to feed them? Did you ever color them? Did you ever draw them? Why don't you tell the person next to you what kind of animals you had as a kid? I had a Cocker Spaniel dog named Polly, and a big gray cat named Dusty. Dusty lived to be very old. She was 24 years old. She was still living with my folks when I went away to college. She was a great cat. She'd always bring me presents of mice and leave them at the foot of my bed. Did you ever have pets? Maybe you think about the pets you had growing up and draw them, or a pet that you might want and draw that. A dog, a cat, a horse. I always wanted a horse. It would be hard in the city I grew up in my neighborhood, to have a horse, but we could go out in the country and ride them. I still like to do that. But these young Arkansas artists are a long history of young artists in our state that have come to the Arkansas Art Center with their drawings and their paintings and their collages and exhibited them for all of us to see. So maybe for your project, you could draw an animal or a fish. Have a great day. We'll get together next month and talk about some more paintings or pictures or collages, drawings, all from the Arkansas Art Center. Raina?
Well, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you back next month.